Alrighty, well, let's just go ahead and kick this thing off. Hello, welcome to our webinar. We're excited to share with you some of the features you might not be aware of that Microsoft has recently made available for you to use with D365. Specifically, that is today, we will be discussing the new Microsoft Teams integration and how it works in D365. Without further ado, let's talk about working smarter, not harder with Teams integration and conversation intelligence in Dynamics 365 for sales. Next slide, please, Rob. Today's presenters are Rob Wenstrand, AlphaBOLD's Director of Customer Engagement. A little bit about Rob. He has over 15 years consulting experience in the Dynamics space. He specializes in cloud-based systems with over 40 implementations. My name is Judd Halenza, and I've been in the Microsoft space for over 16 years. Next slide, please. Our goal for today will be to give you a quick introduction to AlphaBOLD and then an overview of Teams and Dynamics for 365 for sales, how they work together. We will follow that with demos of outbound calling and inbound calling. We do ask that if you do have any questions, please put them in the chat. We will try and service them. We do have breaks that we will be taking where we can answer some questions. We will also have time at the end of the demo to answer any questions that you might have after everything is done. Next slide, Rob. A little bit about AlphaBOLD. AlphaBOLD is a consulting group specializing in the Dynamics stack, AI, Azure, BI, and Microsoft Power Platform. We also have NetSuite, Dev, Ops, and QA practices. We engage with clients in various ways, including ad hoc consulting, development projects, solution optimization, and integrations. Our BOLD route methodology is based around 4 steps. Understanding your issues or needs, working with you to create a plan of attack, configuring a solution, training you on that solution, and then supporting you after you are live. Next slide, Rob. We are 90+ W2 consultants, of which over 30 are specifically experts in CRM. We have over 200 years of experience collectively in the dynamic space. That is, our consultants will help not only with CRM, but all aspects of our project, which includes QA, integrations, SharePoint, Azure, and custom development. Part of our methodology includes high visibility into an active project. We have weekly status meetings and a site available 24 hours a day for you to review the status of a project. Finally, with our large team, we have the ability to scale to your project resource needs based on the size, complexity, and timelines around your project. Next slide, please. Core values. Accountability is very important to us. We try and hold our team accountable to any commitment we make to you and vice versa. We cannot be successful unless we work together. And we never want to give you the empty promise or commitments to our clients. We're driven for customer service success. In the last 5 years, we've lost just 2 clients. We're driven to tackle challenges and trust. Things do go wrong. We'll always be honest with you and transparent with you on how we will fix it. Trust is critical for building long-term relationships, and that's what we are looking for, and hopefully the same goes for you. As I mentioned on the previous slide, we want to give you that visibility and transparency to establish that trust with each other. And finally, give back. This is something that personally made me want to work for this organization, and it's one of the things that I believe separates AlphaBOLD from other companies. We give 10% or more of profits back into our community through programs that our own BOLD enthusiasts care about. Next slide, please, Rob. A little bit about us, some of the awards we won. We won the award for the U.S. Dynamics Gold Partner of the Year this past year in customer service, which is what this demonstration is about to show. We're a Microsoft Gold Partner and can assist with just about anything in the Microsoft space. Next slide, please, Rob. We do work with customers from a vast array of industries, including energy, med tech, and other things like Monster Energy and TaylorMade Golf. Here are just a few of some of our happy customers.
Next
Rob,
slide.
you want to take over?
Sure, absolutely. Be happy to. Went ahead and turned my camera off here for a second because I was getting some network issues, but let me know if everybody can see me. So, all right. So, a couple of common challenges that we're going to address today and some of the software we're going to show you. Teams integration and conversation intelligence within Dynamics. So one of the things that we're gonna be able to do with this technology is track internal Teams messages to records within our Dynamics CRM system. Provide some visibility into some of the calls and conversations that people on our sales team are having with our customers and with each other. We're going to be able to see some sentiment and behavioral analysis that will show us how we're selling, some of the actions that we need to follow up on when we are selling to customers and talking to our customers. And then also allow coaching moments. So allow sales managers to be able to view phone calls that people in your organization have made with clients to help and coach them on how to make their calls better. And then finally, we're going to talk about how some of this automates some of what we call some of what is normally manual entry. So with some of these tools, we can automate the creation of things like phone calls and appointments. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dig right into the software and demonstrate what we're going to show you today. So I think we'll start off the demo. We'll talk about the new Dynamics Teams integration with chat and how we can tie conversations to records, present some records inside of Teams itself, and then also create a Teams integrated meeting. Additionally, we're going to talk about outbound calling through Dynamics 365 for sales. And with that, we're going to make a call directly within Dynamics. We're going to record that call activity automatically. We're going to show you some of the conversation intelligence functionality that's driven by Azure artificial intelligence and machine learning to show you how that can interact with live voice transcription to provide you insights on calls that you're having with your customers. And finally, we're going to show you very simple, some inbound calling, showing some of the screen pop ability that's now available natively within Dynamics with the utilization of Teams. So without
Rob, if you could, can you hide the menu on the right-hand side of the screen? I don't know if you have the ability to do that.
That's only on your screen, Judd.
Yeah, I apologize.
All right. Very good. So to start off with here, we'll pull up our Dynamics system. And to start off with, we've got our Dynamics system here. And one of the things to actually share with the group at large is that we're actually in our internal Dynamics. So we are showing off our own CRM system. So just to show you that we utilize what we what we sell to our customers, evangelize with our customers. So what we're looking at today is we're looking at an opportunity with a company called Blue September, and we have a potential deal with them. I'm in the process of discussing this with a couple of my colleagues. My colleague being Judd Halenza, who's also on the call. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a new pane over here on the right-hand side. It's our Teams integration pane, and when I click on it, it's going to appear. And what I see is actually my all of my current Teams chats. So hopefully none of my coworkers have said anything inappropriate for our call here. But you can see I've got some open conversations. But the first thing I can do in the upper right-hand corner is I can actually click and create new connected chat. The other thing I want to point out is that's one way to do it. But I can also see that Judd's portrait just popped up. in the upper right-hand corner. This actually tells me, and as part of this new Teams integration, that Judd is actually looking at the same record I am. Dynamics now has presence detection on individual records. So I can actually see that Judd is looking at this very record that I'm looking at. And instead of starting it from here, what I can also do is click on his portrait and click on Start Teams Chat. This will initiate a new Teams conversation. And it's going to send him over just a quick note. Hi, can we chat about this? It's going to talk. It's actually going to insert the topic and the estimated revenue and a link to it. And you can see that Judd responded, sure. And so, of course, I can message back and forth and say, let's discuss this opportunity in detail. I will give you a call later. And of course, the conversation can happen back and forth. The one thing I wanted to point out and show you here is that this is all completely seamlessly integrated with Teams. So I'm talking here in Teams. I'm actually going to drag over my Teams window from my other screen, and we can actually see this is the same conversation. It's in my my Teams chat window pane over here, and we can have a full conversation here. Thanks, Judd. Oops, Judd. I'll send that message. And of course, as soon as I do that, you can see that it is also reflected over here within Teams itself. So a pretty neat feature. The other thing is, because I initiated this chat with this open opportunity, you can actually see that this chat is now connected to this opportunity. There's some security controls that we can do that allow other users within the system to see this chat if they open up this opportunity in the future, just by opening up their chat pane and clicking on it. All right. So now that I have sort of shown you some of the basics of the Teams integration, what I'm going to show you now is the ability to actually tie this into a channel within Teams itself. So in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see that we've got our chat window, and of course I can pull up any of these chats, but we also have this button called, or an area called channels. So if I click on channels, you'll see that it's giving me the ability to connect to a channel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect to a channel. We'll get started here. It's going to ask me which team to connect to. So if you have multiple teams that are accessible, you can choose which one. In this case, I'm going to choose AlphaBOLD. Hit next. And I had already pre-created a channel called Blue September for this particular customer. So I'll go ahead and select this as a channel, and I'll hit next. Finally, it's going to let me add team members to access this. So I'm going to go ahead and select some of my other fellow team members, hit finish, and I've now linked this, this opportunity to a Teams channel. And in a moment here, I'll show you what that does. All right. So because I created it and I've not done anything, it's automatically opened up the Blue September channel for me. It's connected to that record. All right. And so what we can see is I'm in Teams, I'm within the channel itself, and I could start a conversation over here. So I can start chatting about this. Let's chat about this opportunity. So I've got an inline chat over here, but what I can also see is that I've got a ready-made window. So within Teams itself, I can go and take a look at all the information about this particular opportunity and access it as a tab on the top here. You'll also notice that earlier what I'd done is I'd actually also tied the account record itself, so the account that's tied to this opportunity, into Teams, so I can actually sort of flip back and forth between these different records within CRM, and they're all tied to this particular channel. So a really good way of keeping track of group conversations, things like that, related to a particular deal or an account or other records within Dynamics. It's not limited to just opportunities and accounts. All right, so that's the Teams channel functionality. Of course, if I come back over here to our dynamics, we can actually see that when I click on channels, I can see what channels this record is connected to. And of course, if I click on it, it actually just, again, takes me straight back into that channel within Teams. All right. So that's sort of the basics of chat and channel integration. So one final thing to kind of close the loop. So Judd and I might have talked, and we decided that we want to schedule an appointment with our potential customer. So in our timeline, within our opportunity record, I'll show you the last little bit of Teams integration that we're going to discuss today. And that's, we have the ability to create Teams appointments. So Teams meetings from appointments within Dynamics now. So go ahead and create a new appointment associated to this opportunity. And you see that it's already included Raphael, who's our contact record on here. But now we have an option that says Teams meeting when we create an appointment. As soon as I hit this to yes, I'll go ahead and choose a subject. Let's meet. I'll hit save and close. Give it a second here. And we can now see, again, with Dynamics being closely integrated with our internal Exchange or with Microsoft Exchange, this appointment invitation has gone out. It's added in the Teams credentials, so it's now a Teams meeting, but it's also been tracked within Dynamics itself. The last cool little feature is that because this is a Teams tracked meeting, I can click on this icon within the CRM interface itself and join this meeting directly from this interface. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and move over to a new topic. I'm going to go ahead and click on Raphael Woodbridge as a contact record. And I realize that I just have a few things that I want to talk to Raphael about. And I will tell you that in our instance today, Raphael is going to be played by Judd. So Judd, are you ready for, sorry, Raphael, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So what we're about to see is some new integration with Teams and specifically voice calling within Teams. So what I'll do here is I'm going to go ahead and click on this little phone icon next to the business phone number. And what will happen is you'll actually see a phone call go out, open up a phone call over here on the right-hand side. It's actually using my Teams in the background to call Raphael Woodbridge. And I think you'll see, if you're watching our video here, that Raphael, also known as Judd, has picked up the phone. The first thing I'm going to do is start talking to Raphael, and I say, hey, Raphael, is it okay if I record this conversation? All right, so he just responded, sure. So I'll go ahead and hit the record button. And you'll see that you'll get a notification. On the phone itself, you'll hear a voice notification that we're going to record this or transcribe this call. And I'm going to say a couple of things, but I'm going to click over here on this transcript tab, and I'm going to stop talking. Because you'll notice that it waits until you pause, and then it's transcribing as we're talking. So, Mr. Raphael, I think we should schedule a meeting next week, maybe next Wednesday, to go over the details of our deal. What do you think? Sure. So again, I think Mr. Raphael didn't unmute his microphone for the web meeting, so you couldn't hear his response. But as you can see in his transcription, he says he loves the idea of a Wednesday meeting, but he'd rather meet Thursday at 11. So, I'm going to respond and say, absolutely, let's meet, let's set up an appointment for this coming Thursday at 11 a.m. and I'll get that meeting sent over. Is there anything else that you need? Do you need me to send you over any other details? All right, very good. So he said, no, that's going to be it. Thank you. And essentially, that's sort of the end of our call. So I'm going to wrap it up. So thank you for your call. Actually, he ended the call. The first thing you'll note is, of course, we have our transcript. I can add in a few notes here. So here are some notes. Skipping ahead a little bit with some suggested action items, but the last thing, of course, is I can click over here under details and click open phone call activity. Alternatively, I'm going to go ahead and close this, and we can actually see that it recorded the phone call automatically for us within the contact itself. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and open up that phone call activity, and we can take kind of look. We can take a look and see some of the basic information about the call. I could type in a few pieces of information in here. We can see that the duration of the call was 2 minutes, but let's dig into the meat of what we gathered by clicking on call summary. So the first thing you'll notice is we have our transcript. And the cool thing about this particular transcript is if I click on an area, it's going to hop to that area within the voice recording itself, and I can replay that voice recording by hitting the play button. You'll also note that it does positive and negative sentiment tracking. So if I click on this area here, it thinks that there's potentially some negative sentiment in this area. And of course, if I click over here, it's recognizing some of this as, yeah, all right, very good. It recognized that as positive sentiment. So it's not perfect, but it's a good way to highlight areas in your speech that may not be for coaching purposes. So if you're trying to coach some of your other coworkers or employees to do a little better, you can use this as a training aid to find those rough spots. Let's talk about some of the other areas on here. So we talked about notes. So of course we can type in some notes. You'll also notice that it's using some of the AI machine learning pieces to provide you some suggested notes. So it's saying, it saw this as a potential action item to schedule a meeting on, today. But if I come actually over here to action items, it's going to give me a drop down that will let me schedule a meeting and hopefully on a particular day. Now, it didn't capture that I said next Thursday at 11, but oftentimes it does a pretty good job and will actually set the meeting up so that it's scheduled for the day that you mean to schedule it. So all that you would have to do is set up with the subject, set up who the meeting is with, and then create that task or that appointment straight from within this interface. Last but not least, we have our mentions tab. So what it does is it goes through the transcript and it finds keywords. So we talked about meeting 5 times. We talked about a Wednesday meeting. We talked about Thursday. And the cool thing about these tags is that it will highlight them in the conversation. So if I click on Mr. Raphael, it's going to show me where I said that in the meeting. So just a way of identifying key parts within the call. So the other thing is these are some of the questions that I asked. Do you need me to send you over any other information? Things like that. So some really strong insights that we can see from these calls. All right, so that's the basics of an outbound call. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to navigate back to our opportunity. And at this point, Mr. Raphael is going to actually give me a call. So Mr. Raphael, would you like to call? And so as you can see, we've got an incoming call, and the cool thing is it found a couple of records that match. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Raphael and click answer. And once again, I'll be starting to talk to Raphael here in a moment. Mr. Raphael, how's it going? Sure, and Mr. Raphael, can I ask you to unmute your webinar so people can hear your side of the conversation? Okay, so So you were saying you wanted to reschedule this call for next week, say schedule a meeting for this coming Wednesday.
Let's do
Okay. All right. And we still can't hear you, Judd, on the webinar, but that's okay. That sounds amazing. So I'll get that scheduled. I'll schedule a meeting for next Wednesday. Is there anything positive or negative you'd like to say?
Yeah, I want to let you know that I looked at another technology and it's in no way as good as Dynamics. So very, very positive. Had a bad experience with Sugar CRM. So I'm looking forward to our discussions around Dynamics going forward.
Okay, that's great. Thank you for that. So I look forward to our call. Have a great day.
Thanks, you too.
All right, so again, I'm going to end the call. And before I went and opened up the activity, but if you wanted to look at some of those insights sooner rather than later, you can go ahead and click on this full summary tab and it will pull up your call immediately. Now, I will say sentiment tracking isn't perfect. I think what Judd was saying was probably positive, but he was relating a bad experience that he had with Sugar Serum. So it's showing this as a negative sentiment tracking. But again, to highlight the positive, I said, okay, that's great. Thank you for that. It's highlighting some of those positive sentiments there. Again, action items, it pulled it up properly now. So to schedule a meeting for next Wednesday, it pulled up the date properly. Again, I could go ahead and do that, open up the calendar and get an invite out. All right. And without further ado, essentially that's the end of our presentation today. We wanted to kind of share a couple of these brief features with you today. I'm going to go ahead and go back to our slide deck and wrap up our call.
Does anybody have any questions that they'd like to ask? Well, let's kind of hold off on answering some of those questions right now. Just, I know some of you are IT specialists. I will tell you that this has really kind of changed the game for me as a salesperson, where I'm able to use this, pretty much hop on every call and say, hey, you don't mind if I record this? Just, I've got a note taker that I'm using. It does the transcription. Absolutely love this. I can take calls back to back to back. I don't have to worry about interrupting the flow of a call to take notes. That can drive people crazy. I want to have really kind of smooth conversations, flowing conversations. This allows me to do it. And then, I can either go back that day later, kind of figure out what I need to do as far as invites to send out. If I'm not sending them out from the call, figure out what people were talking about. This is great when I'm putting contracts together or putting together agendas for future calls. It also gives me the ability to go back and look at previous calls, and you'll get into that thing with some clients sometimes where they say, hey, we talked about this, and you said this, and I can go back and see what I said, and make sure that I'm being honest with the client, and have an understanding of our previous conversations. Where this is really, really, really beneficial is, you have a conversation and it's been a month and a half. Maybe you're talking about a project and they've got to go back. It's about getting budget together and get, put together executive sponsorship. And it might have been a month and a half, 2 months since you've talked to somebody. It's really great being able to go back, look at the transcripts, listen to the calls, get an understanding of the sentiment, what was happening on those calls, so you can hop right back in and you don't have to go through the process of having to reintroduce yourself, reintroduce the project. You can just kind of summarize where you left off, talk about the project, and roll right back forward and pick up as if there hasn't been that month and a half, 2 month gap. So I really, really like this. The other thing is that I'm a salesperson and I'm constantly bringing in technical resources on calls to help me out. I love the idea that within the project, I set up the opportunity. I can create my team. immediately have my team where we've got that channel, or maybe I've got a demo coming up, or I've got a call that I need that technical resource. I can outline what we, kind of summarize what the client is looking for, kind of give them some insight as to who we're talking to, an idea of budget if that was discussed, where the technical resource is going to be able to hop on that call and be aligned from the get-go, just being able to take a look at my notes and look at the opportunity. So that's a huge value also. And I'm already using the Teams invite for meetings, that is inviting people using the Teams invite. I think that's great, being able to set it up within the opportunity. I don't have to go to Outlook, set up the invite, and then go to the Dynamics add-on and tag it in the Dynamics add-on. That's just one more step. I can do it from within the opportunity. Everything's fresh, boom, done. I'm moving on to my next task. So this really, really has made me more efficient with the way I'm able to utilize Dynamics. And it wasn't one of those things, when Rob talked to me initially about it, I said, hey, that's great. And then I started using it, and I see immediately that it's saving me time, and I'm not having to go back and look for notes and look through my OneNote and try and figure all this out. It's all in one place. And as a salesperson, that's key. So, really, really, really beneficial for the way that I do business. Rob, back at you.
All right. Not much more to say, although there are a couple pieces of information I wanted to impart. So the first feature that we looked at today, the Teams chat integration with Dynamics 365, that initial release of that feature was in preview November 2021, and it was just released last month in sort of its initial release capacity. The other item that we looked at today was the Teams meeting integration, and that's where we can create Teams appointments within Dynamics itself and have it set up the meetings. So that's still in a preview feature. It's available for production, but it is considered in preview. So think of that as sort of a beta. And then finally, make and receive calls through Teams. Again, that started its preview June of 2022. So not been fully released as of yet, but is on the roadmap here shortly. And again, is available. And as you can see, we're using it in a production capacity. So I think now we can move on to a few questions.
Yeah, I've got a question. Does this work with G Suite?
You said G Suite? Yes.
Yes.
So yes, so the Google Suite, I mentioned earlier in the presentation, we talked about tight Exchange integration. It's not as closely knit as, say, an Exchange integration, but there is a G Suite integration that is available.
Another question here. Can you use this with phone systems other than Teams?
That's a great question. So what we demoed today was the out-of-the-box Microsoft Teams voice telephony integration, which really requires very little setup. As long as you have it enabled, you essentially, it's 2 clicks to turn on the feature within Dynamics. That said, if you have a third-party voice provider that you would like to use instead of Microsoft, they have a whole framework. It's called the Call Integration Framework, I believe, and it allows us to connect this system up to pretty much any modern telephony provider. So we can hook it up to your existing on-premise phone systems or your digital phone systems. And in a fairly straightforward manner. So yeah, we have that capability.
Rob, I've got a question. Does this work with other technologies in the Dynamics stack outside of Dynamics sales? Sorry.
Well, yeah, I mean, the integration itself, obviously it's specific to Dynamics, but we're just utilizing and maybe I don't understand the question fully, but we're just utilizing the out-of-the-box Teams tool with no customizations other than turning on this integration. Does that answer your question?
I'm wondering if, I wish I could. Let's ask it because I've got to make an assumption here. Does this work with customer service or field service?
Yes, I see. Different modules within Dynamics. This is a generic tool. We have it hooked up right now to work just with with our Sales Hub. However, it can be enabled for any Dynamics 365 CRM-based module. So field service, customer service, project operations, sales, generic Power Apps. We can enable it for any of those.
Gotcha. And I guess this is a question for me. It's a question on pricing. The MS Teams pricing is available, or excuse me, the Teams phone is available through E5 licensing. It's also, they have standalone phone subscription plans through Microsoft. So you don't have to have E5. You can buy a separate phone number if you want to take advantage of the Teams telephony features. That's it for what I have for questions. Does anybody else have any questions?
Yep, I don't see any other questions.
Okay. Rob, next slide. A little bit more about us. If you saw anything that you were interested in learning more about, we'd love to talk to you. Give us a call to schedule an appointment, or you can reach out to me at sales@alphabold.com. We can set up a demo, kind of walk through, talk about pricing, talk about what this looks like as a project to set up. The discussions that we've had internally, I mean, obviously we've set it up for ourselves. This isn't a sea change to set up. This is fairly easy. The telephony aspects, if you're setting it up with a third-party telephony system, Rob has done some of that work with some of his projects, and we can kind of discuss that. And are you already using telephony with Dynamics in some other ways? That is, are you seeing those screen pops and whatnot? That project might be a little bit more complicated, or it might be simple, kind of depending on what that system is and what you're looking to do with it. Finally, if you are looking for help with Dynamics, we are a fairly large Dynamics practice and company. We'd love to talk to you and love to help you out. We help everybody from currently we're helping out a single user and getting him set up to we have Fortune 500 companies that we're currently working with and supporting. If nobody else has any questions, I hope you guys have a great day, and we'll talk to you later. Thanks, everybody.
Appreciate everybody's time. Thank you.